Our old friend David Seelig, the conservative commentator and pro-business advocate, his website, TrueTaxHelp.com, is on the line with us. Hey, David, welcome.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. There was a study here recently. In fact, let me find the original. I've got it right here. That suggested, yes, it's in the New York Times. Study examines efficacy of taxes on sugary drinks.
Is this that whole Wood Johnson Foundation?
Yeah, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation.
Right, got it.
Consumption of calories in drinks would drop 9.3% if a tax of 4/100ths of 1 penny for every calorie was added to the price. And we have, David, I would think that this is a conservative argument. We know now that 30 years ago, when the federal government started suggesting that people cut fat out of their food because they had seen a clear statistical association between a high-fat diet and early death, principally from coronary artery disease and cancer. We know now that it wasn't the fats that were killing people, it was the trans fats, these artificial fats that had just been introduced into the American diet in the 1940s and 50s. Trans fats are now out of our diet. They're banned. No company is selling anything with trans fats in it anymore. It's not that it was the fats that were killing us, it was the trans fats. But because the government said, you know, stop eating fat in your food, all these companies came out with these low-fat things, and what they did, and the low-fat things tasted like crap, and so what they did is they replaced the fat with sugar. And so we all went on a sugar binge, and it turns out sugar is actually more dangerous and more toxic to us than fat. So now the food companies are creating an externality. They're creating an expense to society, principally obesity and the diseases associated with it, type 2 diabetes and all these other things, and they're not paying for it. You and I as taxpayers are paying for it. So
That's
why?
Not true, Tom.
Of course it's true.
No, that's hogwash, and I think you know it. Now, I'm in no way trying to denigrate your expertise as a nutritionalist because, look,
I'm just quoting the studies that I've seen in the New York Times.
But this is too much, okay? If a person abuses anything, it's going to be deleterious to their health and potentially to society. The fact of the matter is this has become politicized to penalize a particular industry because abuse of the product may create problems.
But it's not just abuse. There's sugar hidden in everything. You've got sugar in hamburger buns. You've got sugar in things where the sugar shouldn't be.
I know. As a guy who has struggled with his weight, I'm painfully aware of that, Tom. But, you know, we have
David, you're one of the victims. You're one of the externalities. You've been screwed by these companies. Aren't you outraged?
Okay, I'm a participant, and if I choose to gorge myself like I previously would, I reap what I sow. Now, listen, everybody in your listening audience should take a little accountability for their own actions. Stop being a victim. Start being a participant in your destiny, okay?
But the fact of the matter is, David, that if you don't even know how much sugar is in the food you're eating, and you particularly don't know that if you're eating in restaurants, but if you don't even know how much sugar, or you don't know the consequences of eating sugar, as we really have just learned in the last year or so in pop culture, if you don't know about that externality, if you don't know about those costs, then when you, David, show up because you've gotten overweight or out of shape as a consequence of it, when you show up at the ER, part of the cost of your being treated is coming out of my taxes. Why shouldn't it be coming out of the American Sugar Company's taxes?
You know what? You're talking when I abuse food, I'm aware that I am abusing food, okay?
Right, so you're dumping your costs on me intentionally.
And now that I have a better dietary habits, the pounds are coming off, I feel better, my body is functioning better. So you're not talking to people who are responsible, you're talking to gluttons. You know, I once heard about a woman who overdosed on drinking too much water. Should we regulate water? No.
I'm not, that's an absurd straw man. The fact of the matter is, David, there are food deserts in this country. We have substantial food deserts in this country, places where you cannot buy fresh fruits and vegetables within walking distance, and the people don't have the money to drive. And these food deserts, and the companies that are selling the stuff in these food deserts, they're selling stuff that will sit on the shelf for 12 or 18 months or 2 years or 3 years because it's the cheapest way to do it, and they're creating an expense for all of society. They should be paying that.
Well, I'm sympathetic to that fact pattern. I don't know if it's true or not.
So let's create a sugar tax, but I'm suggesting that instead of having the sugar tax on the consumer,
you're penalize the people who you purportedly wanted to.
Exactly. I don't want the sugar tax to be at the end user. I don't want it to be a sales tax. I want it to be like a VAT tax. I want the sugar tax to be on the producer.
Not. We are not going to have a value-added tax here because it will cause everything.
Works for every other country in the world.
It is a lousy idea. It doesn't work. It just...
why are we subsidizing the sugar industry here, David? Why are we letting them get away with us paying the medical bill for the damage that they're causing to us?
The vast majority of your listening audience takes out way more than they receive. They're not paying for anything. Don't worry about that. You and I are paying, but we can handle that.
The vast majority of our... What are you talking about, David?
What I'm saying is the majority of the listeners probably get back more than they receive when they pay into the system.
I think that's largely only true of people who are multimillionaires and billionaires.
No.
They're the ones who are scamming the system. They're the one, Mitt Romney's the guy who pays no income taxes.
Who's actually paying their way.
No, it's the truly wealthy. A quarter, roughly, of the 400 largest corporations in America pay no taxes. You've got, CEOs earning millions, in some cases billions, and their top tax rate is 20% because they're taking it as capital gains.
The administration is responsible for that.
I mean, you know this. Okay, David Seelig, conservative commentator, pro-business advocate, TrueTaxHelp.com. Thanks for dropping by, David.
Thanks, Tom. Hope to see you soon.
Okay, good talking with you. We'll be back. Your thoughts on my conspiracy theory. Could it be that all these conspiracy theories, all this bizarre stuff, the open carry stuff, that this is all because Reaganomics has ripped out the middle class?
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And if so, and if we got back to an economy that worked in a country that worked, would they be marginalized to the side like the John Birch Society was back in the 60s? Just, a few crazies.